everyone. Welcome. It's Niki with Keeping It Real, and I've got Kerri Selby with Fairway Mortgage. Kerri, how you doing today?
I'm good. I actually have to keep on moving because there's sunlight coming through my blinds and it's showing on my hair, my face. So I'm not going to be mad at the sun.
We're not going to complain. You know, that sun feels so good. So you're ready for the holidays, yes?
Yes. As most people know, this is a really busy time of the year, especially for our family because my husband is the coordinator for the Toys for Tots program, and our giveaway is this Saturday. So we're ramping up to do all of our toy pickups from businesses and wrap up our event on Saturday. So we've had a great response. Right. So we're happy about that.
And I always had so much fun helping you guys that as soon as I got here to Nebraska, I jumped out and helped the Siouxland Toys for Tots here. Right. And I'm actually going to go help sort tonight too. So I'm so excited to be a part of it again. And I'm very appreciative of that fact. And you know, there's still time to get out and throw some toys in those boxes and help out the Toys for Tots. It goes to a great cause. It goes out to help the community's kids that don't have as much and stuff. And it really is a big thing. So there we go.
Most definitely.
So we're going to kind of have fun today, aren't we, Kerri?
Yeah, we're just going to do some predictions. Funny that you did the same thing as me because I'm like, crystal ball.
Exactly. So we are going to talk. Right now is kind of the time of year when we have a lot of the predictions coming out, and it starts, you know, people kind of say, what's the housing industry going to do? What's the economy going to do? We've got an election year next year. I mean, it's, you know, it's just kind of a time of kind of figuring out things. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about the housing market. I've been reading about some of the predictions, and oh goodness, so sorry. Here, let me do this quick.
Yeah, I should probably. I have 3 phones because I have the Toys for Tots one too, so I should mute all 3 of them.
Yep.
Toys for Tots. There we go.
I remembered one, but not my other one. Anyway, so but yeah, we're going to talk about some of the housing predictions that we've been hearing out into just general newsworthy things or whatever, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about some of our predictions a little bit. So these are some of the big name companies that have kind of thrown out some predictions and they kind of been pulled together as this is kind of what people are predicting. Home prices will fall about 1%, and you know, I'm kind of in agreement with that one. I mean, this is from the Northwest MLS, so this is Kitsap County specific here. But you can see, like, back in the 2020, I mean, you know, normal house prices, and then it just kind of whoosh, way up high. And then it's been kind of riding up there since, you know, a little bit after 2022. It had a little bit of a dip. It kind of went up a little bit. And I think it's going to kind of, I'm not going to say flatline, but I think it's going to kind of stay within that range. I don't see it dropping drastically. I don't see a lot of big changes. I mean, I'm just kind of watching what this is doing and what I'm hearing out in the streets and stuff. I think they're dropping a little bit, prices are. I mean, I know that there's a lot more, you know, price adjustments and stuff like that than there were when it was going up, obviously, because everything was going up. But, you know, I think we're kind of getting maybe more into a normal cycle here, maybe kind of a little bit of a buyer's market kind of sort of. I mean, there's still a lot of people there's still not a lot of inventory out there, but I don't see like a whole craziness of it going up any higher. I think it's going to be kind of, you know, flatlining and kind of, you know, maybe a little bit of a dip, but not much. What do you think, Kerri?
Well, I can play devil's advocate a little bit because where I do agree with you, prices did dip a little bit this year, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that rates were higher and people didn't qualify for as much. And so I think that a lot of sellers put their home on the market believing that it was going to go for what it would have gone for last year. And we're a little disappointed when the shoppers weren't out there. So they were doing a lot of price reductions. For me, I feel like as the rates go down, there are a lot of shoppers that have been waiting for this to happen. And so I'm just concerned that it might drive the prices up maybe a little bit just because the market's going to become more competitive with more shoppers in the market.
And that could totally be too. So I'm going to say it's going to kind of hold steady, Kerri saying up, and the industry said it's kind of going to go down a little tiny bit. But I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of, I still don't think there's going to be a whole lot of fluctuation. I don't think we're going to get the rise like we did before.
Okay. Wouldn't it be great to come back in like December of next year and say, I wonder whose predictions were right?
I know, right? That'll be fun. Okay, so new listings going up. What do you think?
We kind of talked about this before we started. A lot of people have been waiting to put their homes on the market because not only are buyers anxiously awaiting for rates to drop, so are sellers because they're going to have to move somewhere. So they're waiting for the rates to even out too. And you were really summing it up correctly when you said people are just getting used to this high rate market and knowing that it's not going to go away. It's not going to decrease as quickly as people think it will. So I'm thinking that more homes will come on the market because a lot of people just have to move out of necessity, whether it be because they're in the military and they have orders to execute, or if they have a job in another place and they need to sell their home. There's lots of variables.
You know, and last year I had a couple people who were going to sell their house, and then the rates started changing, and just looking at what they were going to be able to buy with the higher rates, they were like, not doing it. So again, I think it's maybe is if the prices are rising a little bit, we get maybe into a little bit of a more buyer's market with not so much fluctuation and stuff. The rates come down a little bit, like Kerri is predicting. I think, you know, maybe that will encourage some of the people that have been kind of holding tight to go ahead and list. As you can see here from this graph, this one shows, you know, it's kind of up and down a lot. And then we had a big drastic drop as far as listings. People just kind of stopped listing. And you know, the other side on this too, with all the stuff going on in the economy right now too, I really feel that, you know, I mean, like with inflation and stuff like that, you know, the house or the purse strings are getting a lot tighter for people. And so, you know, unfortunately, there are some that are having issues that are, you know, they bought at the wrong time in the market, you know, or at the higher end of the market, and they have to sell because they're moving, it's a job, it's whatever. You know, and I think we might see some more coming on because of like foreclosures, unfortunately, and short sales too. So I'm thinking that might add a little bit to the new listings coming up in the future as well.
Oh yeah, and there's a point that they make a little bit later on about rentals, and it could kind of go hand in hand with one another. You know, jumping ahead just to number 6, where it says renting will lose its stigma. Well, if people are leaving their houses when they go move somewhere else and turning them into rentals, then there will be more availability for rentals.
Right.
So it could be
and then the other thing too is, I mean, the prices are still, it's not, you know, 2 years ago when, I mean, things were somewhat affordable. I mean, even in our area, I mean, it's like it was 2 years ago, it was, you know, at least affordable for most people to go out and buy a house. And with their, you know, buying a house right now, I mean, especially new construction, are more like in the 700s or 650s or whatever. There's a few, I mean, what I can think of, you know, off the top of my head, that are in the 4s, but a lot of them are in the 6 or 7 or even 800,000s. And, you know, new people just starting to get into the housing market just can't afford to purchase with that big of amount. And so, you know, I just think that a lot of people are kind of, especially this past year, they've kind of lost hope as far as being able to go out and buy a home. And so I think that, you know, that might become some more of a push for them to start renting some more. And, you know, I think it just might be kind of more of a transitional period, I guess, is kind of maybe what next year will be. And my guess is kind of what I'm thinking. It's just kind of, it's changing, and we're seeing the whole kind of thing move around. And I think the following year might even be more steady, but I think next year's going to be kind of a little weird. Yeah. That's my prediction.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting that you brought up the new construction, because I was fortunate enough to be invited to a breakfast with some of our elected officials for Kitsap County and going over what their prospects are for the 2024 year. One of the things that was brought up, I just happened to be sitting at a table with a few people that were in the housing industry, one from a construction company, our state representative, KCAR president was there. And basically they're saying that the permitting process and the cost of building just at the start of it, before they even break ground, is around $100,000. So that is a cost that the people that are constructing these homes have to then pass on to the buyers. So you're already starting at a huge disadvantage unless we change things at a different level. So something to address for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, and then people have asked me too, like, why aren't they building like a lot of the more inexpensive, like starter homes and stuff? And that's just the reason why, because unfortunately there's so much as far as just the overhead costs and stuff and to get started costs that they just can't. So anyway, okay, let's go ahead. So home sales are going to increase. I think that's definitely, I think that more homes are going to the market. Mortgage rates. Kerri, this is your area. What do you think?
I think they're correct. It's not going to just all of a sudden dip from being close to 8% down to 4% again. That's just not realistic. It would just crash the market for other things. So everything has to have its ebb and flow. And where we are starting to see a decline, the mortgage bond we've had some friendly days. We've seen some improvements. And so we're slowly seeing those things happen. We just talked just a few minutes ago about the fact that it's an election year. Things generally start to improve when it's an election year because people start making promises and there's more confidence and they're, oh, I'm going to lower rates so I could get reelected. So I do see them coming down, but I'm agreeing with them. They said in their article that it would probably be around 6.6%. Probably, maybe a little bit lower, maybe 6.25%.
Okay. And that's kind of what I was thinking, probably maybe mid to low sixes. But yeah, I agree. I think that's probably about where we're going to be. I just don't see, I know we're never going back to well, I'm not going to say never because I've learned you never say never. But I don't think we're going to see the 2s or 3s or 4s for maybe not my lifetime anyway. Who knows?
Yeah, that was anyway. Very different.
That was kind of a year. Yes, it was. Okay. So there was some change about the quickly on this, and we might have to go back into this another day because we're on time frame today, but change in the real estate industry. So again, I'm going to go through that quickly. What they're talking about here again is they're talking about buyers brokers. What they're saying is they had a lawsuit in Illinois, and it was against the NAR. It was against some of the bigger brokerages in the country, and they were saying that the sellers have a right to not pay the buyer broker's fees. And we've talked about this. There's another YouTube video. Go back and watch that one if you really want to catch up on that, because we did go into a lot more detail. But the main thing is you guys, in Washington at least, we were kind of one of the four runners of this thing as far as taking the initiative and really making sure that the sellers were aware of, you don't have to pay this, but again, I'm going to go back to the education part of my job. It's so important to educate your sellers on why you would want to do that, because as Kerri and I were talking about before we got on today, you're going to have some buyers who just can't afford to have that cash on hand. I mean, a lot of people just don't have cash right now. I mean, you're talking about, you're going back to, number 7 with the housing, and it's like just the whole economy right now with inflation costs and all that stuff. A lot of people just don't have cash. And so either they're going to be, in a situation possibly where, they're not going to take representation, and then there's going to be lawsuits all over because, they're going to find out, oh, I could have had this happen and I didn't know, and, possibly go out that angle because they're not being represented. Or, the sellers are going to be smart and say, it really does make sense to offer this, or to at least negotiate. Then there's different ways of negotiation on how you can do this, but to help pay the buyer to have representation because it makes sense for the buyer to have representation.
Most definitely. And I feel like a lot of these predictions are things that we've talked about throughout this year. And it just seems to me like it's a recap of everything that we've talked about and we've been educating you guys about already. So,
right. So, you know what? That's pretty much all we have for today, right?
Yes.
We both have a really busy schedule with Toys R Us today. So, you guys, thank you guys so much for joining us every single week. We appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and follow button. Go out and donate to the Toys for Tots because it's a great cause. And if you ever, like I said, if you are interested in some of the stuff we pulled up today and we're talking about, there's past videos. They're always out there. Go ahead and check those out. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you again on, we will see you again next week, same time, same place.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Okay.